Mass Media.
Well, hey, folks, as I'm sure you've probably realized by now, there is no new episode of Hither Came Conan in your feed today, except, of course, whatever this is. See, here's the thing. It's become pretty apparent that I simply cannot focus on two things at once, or at least right now I can't. I mean, at this moment in time, my brain just can't handle it, and rather than work myself into some sort of stress-induced mental collapse, I've made a few decisions, and so that's what this is all about. Buckle up, folks, because I am about to take you on a ride. This, dear listener, is the state of things. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Hither Came Conan. I'm your host, my name is Steeven, and yeah, lately I have been on the verge of a full-blown emotional freak-out. And trying to put together two different podcasts at the same time is only adding to the stress that's usually kept at bay, if even temporarily, whenever I podcast. Podcasting has always been a bit of a release for me. I mean, I get to talk about comics, which I fucking love, and I don't typically have the opportunity to do that without podcasting. Sure, there's social media, but yeah, if you've got that all figured out, you, my friend, are a better person than me. Anyway, to get to the main point of this very short episode, over the last few weeks, I have been hard at work getting the comic book show ready for launch in July. And as excited as I am for that, the downside is that Hither Came Conan has obviously suffered. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that I really don't want to get into, but in brief, for a few months I'd been working on something completely different, a different podcast, something that was not the comic book show, and then something happened that, well, I was threatened with legal action based on the subject of the show, and fearing for my fiscal future, I abandoned the idea. I will talk about all of it at some point, but now, it's not the time. I'll just say that a lawyer contacted me. I cleared up a few things. Everything seems to be cool. I can still podcast about what I was gonna podcast about, but there's still some things that are up in the air. So yeah, I shifted my focus and started working on the comic book show, which once I got it off the ground, I'd be able to eventually incorporate the original topic into it at some point. But yeah, it was a whole thing, and I am being vague on purpose, and that's about all I can do right now. With all of that said, season 1 of the comic book show lands on Wednesday, July the 10th. It consists of 6 episodes, and as of today, Monday, June the 10th, I am just an hour or two away from finishing up episode 5 and moving on to the 6th and final episode of the season. The reason I'm telling you all this is so that you will understand when I tell you that while I've been dealing with all the vaguely mentioned stuff and working on these 6 episodes of the comic book show and also dealing with shit in other areas of my life, I have been trying to work on episodes of Hither Came Conan as well, but well, I think I used the term emotional freakout earlier. So, it is with a heavy heart that I announce here and now that I will not be working on any new episodes of Hither Came Conan until episode 6 of the comic book show is done. And to tell you the truth, my heart isn't heavy at all. It's actually quite light because just saying all of that out loud has already lifted a great big bunch of stress from off the top of me. I mean, I had reached a point in the last couple of days where I knew I had to make a decision. Something had to go, and I figured, well, I'm so close to finishing these 6 episodes of the comic book show, it would make more sense to step away from Conan's violent romp across Hyboria until I could put my full focus back on the Cimmerian in a way that he deserves. And even then, when I do get back to working on Hither Came Conan, I think I'm going to get the next 10 episodes recorded, edited, and ready for release before I put any of them out there, which I guess that would be Conan the Barbarian issues 27 through 36. Or maybe instead I'll just get the next 4 ready. I don't know. I'm trying not to spend a lot of time making plans because, well, that way lies madness. However, me being me, I do have a bit of a plan worked out in my head. And when I say a bit of a plan, I've actually mapped out the rest of the year. And, well, I want to make this absolutely clear from the outset. While I am going to talk about this plan here in a bit, and only because I have to, mind you, my neurodivergency is making me, that doesn't mean that I'm actually going to stick to this plan in any way. Then again, I might. Now, bear with me here because I am about to get all kinds of over-explainy, which I know it's not a word, but for me it is. Okay, so currently on Hither Came Conan, we are 2 episodes into Season 7, Conan the Barbarian issues 25 and 26. Originally, the plan had been for Season 7 to consist of 12 episodes, or Conan the Barbarian 25 through 36. And yeah, that's still the plan. But the idea that's been ruminating in this big old overcrowded head is to switch back and forth between Hither Came Conan and the comic book show season by season. As stated earlier, Season 1 of the comic book show launches on Wednesday, July the 10th with Episode 1. And then the next 5 episodes will land on the following 5 weeks, with Episode 6 releasing on Wednesday, August the 14th. So from the moment I have Episode 6 of the comic book show all done, which hopefully will be before the end of the week, all of my focus will then shift to Hither Came Conan with the goal of releasing the Conan the Barbarian number 27 episode on August 28th, which is a Wednesday. So I guess the show is moving to Wednesdays. Now, to get into a bit more detail, and because I do need to say it out loud, the final episode of Season 1 of the comic book show, as I said, lands on Wednesday, August the 14th. After that, the plan is to take a week off and then come back on Wednesday, August the 28th, with the Conan the Barbarian number 27 episode of Hither Came Conan. After that, well, from what I've mapped out, and if I stick to that map, you'll get the episodes covering Conan the Barbarian issues 28, 29, and 30 on September the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th. That would then make 6 of the 12 episodes for Season 7. I would then take the following 2 weeks off in order to, breathe and junk, and then I'll be back for the next 6 weeks, October 9th through November 13th, with Conan the Barbarian issues 31 through 36, which will finish up Season 7. I'll take the week of November the 20th off and then be back on Wednesday, November the 27th with Season 2 of the comic book show, which will be 8 episodes looking at the Avengers number 270 through 277, published from May to December of 1986, which is the Under Siege storyline. After that, I don't know. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm not even going to guarantee that I'm going to stick to this rigidly structured plan. All I can tell you for sure is this. Season 1 of the comic book show lands on Wednesday, July the 10th, and fingers crossed, all 6 episodes will be completed and in the can before then. The next episode of Hither Came Conan won't land until sometime after that. Hopefully, no later than August the 28th, but who knows? I may change my mind about whole seasons of Hither Came Conan being complete before release, and you'll get the next episode much, much sooner. I can also tell you with the utmost of confidence that I can be a bit flighty and somewhat undependable at times, which is something I've come to accept about myself, and it means that any plans I spend hours putting together can be tossed out the window in a matter of seconds. But here's the thing. The last bit I can tell you that is for sure and for certain is that I love to podcast, and I love to talk about Conan, and I love to talk about other comics too. So regardless of how everything might end up with this schedule I've mapped out, you can count on the fact that I will be releasing episodes talking about Conan at various points in time, and you can count on them being damn entertaining because, well, I put on a damn good show. With all that said, however, I do need to get back to finishing up episode 5 of the comic book show so that I can start in on episode 6, so that I can finish up episode 6, so that I can get back to creating more podcast episodes about our favorite steely-thewed barbarian. Bye.
I don't think I can move through life knowing that a guy named Steeven did this to me.
How could you let this happen, Steeven?
Your podcast sucks.
Enough talk.